So, gap filling. You know what I mean, right? We're talking about a really important step for your model preparation workflow. As a first example, here I have the Strontium Dog Miniatures game expansion Seek and Destroy. They're two miniatures made of a mix of resin and metal parts, so I was expecting some nasty gaps. First of all, I prepared the metal parts according to my hobo priming technique. I use acetone in the process, and you don't want to put acetone on resin, so if this is the case, prime the metal parts before doing the rest. So what's the situation on the minis gaps wise? There's one here, another one here, a huge one here. Well, as expected, there are plenty. In this case, the reason is that the mini is just a plug into the bike, and you have to make the two parts fit together. The other bike is slightly better, but the situation is quite the same. So what to do in these cases? I use plastic putty from Vallejo. I already put a dab of plastic putty in the bottle cap, and you can see it's a thick white paste. The next thing to do is to grab an old and beaten up brush to apply the putty directly on the model. The thing I love about this product is that you can just paint it on. No need for an applicator, just paint it inside the gaps. If you have a close look at what I'm doing here, you can see that I don't really care if the putty splashes around. I don't care because this putty is just a really thick acrylic polymer paste, which means that I can easily wash it away from the model with water. Easy. I literally paint it and feather it on the model. It's that easy. This can help you smooth the transition between the gap and the model itself, so really useful. And as you can see, the gap is properly filled. I still have to go around the model and fill the rest of the gaps, but you probably know how to do it, so I will skip it. So fast forward to the dried putty. You can see I filled all the gaps here, so we are ready to prime. Here's the prime model. You can see how the gaps are more organic and the holes are gone. The putty can be easily primed, it's cheap and a really easy to use product, so I generally use this to fill my gaps. I strongly suggest you try it. But wait a second, this is not the only method I have. I also have a couple of pretty cheap and easy techniques I want to share with you. I was building some Reaper bones from their 4th Kickstarter, for my kid, and I have this dragon here. This guy is so huge it doesn't even fit in the shot. Can you see this? There's also a smaller drake here or something, I don't know. And this huge flying birdie dog, I don't know what it is. But let's go back to the dragon, because it's really awful. I'm sorry Reaper, but it's awful. The sculpt has huge gaps. Can you see this? You can almost see through the model. There's another one, like right behind the wing. You can see that trench. It's too big. It would take me like 2 bottles of putty to fill that gap, so what else could we do? So let's go into the details. On this base we have 2 different types of gaps. Really huge gaps where a proper hole in the model can be seen, and smaller gaps where the 2 parts don't really go well together and they're just slightly misaligned, probably because of the molds, I don't know. Like here between the scales. Less apparent but still terrible looking after you prime and paint the model, because you see like a black hole. This second type is usually done with liquid green stuff, so if you're into that kind of product, knock yourself out. But if you want to save a lot of money, here's what I suggest you to use. PVA glue. I mean, that's really cheap. Like a tub like this is $5, I don't know. I would suggest you go for one of the dense types. This is the consistency I'm talking about. You can see it here. This is a huge model, so I don't really care how I apply it, and I'm using a coffee stirrer here. But on smaller models, you should use a brush, maybe a beaten up brush or some kind of precision applicator. You just get better results if you do that. When I've covered the gap with the glue, I just pack it in after cleaning my applicator. Rinse the brush if you're using one, and don't worry, the glue is so thick that it will stay where you put it. After you're finished, clean the surroundings with a paper towel or with some moist brush and leave it there to dry. So we are ready to tackle the big hole now. You can't use PVA glue or liquid green stuff here. I mean, right? Because they shrink when they dry, and so it would take like 10 applications and a bunch of material probably. Plastic putty can be used, but you need a lot of it, like especially for a big model like this. And you may want to save some bucks, I know. So what you want to do in this case is to use a secret ingredient. Normal plain dollar store quality filler. Yeah, like I really mean this. Plain old filler. Let's say it's almost £1 for $2 and something. Pretty cheap, huh? The usage is exactly the same we saw both for the putty and the glue. Grab an applicator or some sort of brush, whatever you have, and just go inside the crevices. Working it with a smaller brush or applicator can be even better. So you see I took a smaller pin of metal to better go into the details. So again, it's a matter of applying and wiping away the excess. And if you're good, I mean really good, you can also try to resculpt some detailing in the filler when it's drying, but that's another story. Well, and now let's prime. Let's see how the gap filling turned out. I use my usual light ghost gray surface primer from Vallejo because it brushes on very smoothly, and I just mix and paint. Just notice that I left many gaps unfilled to highlight the difference between the gap filling and the no gap filling situation. Now let's speed up and watch some paint dry. You see how seamless the result is? Both the PVA blue and the filler are smooth surfaces now, and the primer goes on top of them with no problem. Definitely more than good enough, at least for me. What do you guys think about it? And finally, to close this video tutorial, let me show you a real world example on a metal mini from my wreckage collection. This is a fairly high level paint job, and you probably can see that the dude's right shoulder has been gap filled with my hobo filler here. You see how natural it is? And trust me, there was a huge gap there, but the filler did a great job hiding it. It's definitely worth trying it. So remember to fill your gaps and kick your hobby level up a notch. See you next time. If you liked this tutorial, please like and subscribe so I can keep making more. And don't forget to leave your comments and critiques in the comment section below so I can keep improving. Thank you for watching.